Have you ever finished your daily walk and wondered why your legs still feel heavy? Not tired, not sore, just heavy, like your body is fighting gravity. You did what doctors, trainers, and TV experts have told you for decades. Walk every day. So why does standing feel harder? Why does balance feel uncertain? Here's what most people over 60 are never told. According to U.S. health data, more than 25% of adults over 65 fall each year, and falls remain the leading cause of injury-related loss of independence, as reported by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Yet over 80% of seniors walk regularly. So ask yourself this: if walking is enough, why are falls increasing? Because walking barely activates the muscles that keep you upright. Today, you'll discover one surgeon-approved exercise that targets what walking ignores and protects your strength, balance, and independence far better after 60. This isn't an opinion, and it's not a fitness trend. Leading medical institutions have been warning about this for years. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention clearly state that for adults over 65, walking alone is not enough. Their guidelines emphasize that strength and balance training are essential to prevent falls and maintain independence. The National Institute on Aging, part of the U.S. National Institutes of Health, reports that after age 60, adults can lose up to 3–5% of muscle mass per decade, even if they remain active. Walking does not stop this decline. And according to the American College of Sports Medicine, exercises that load muscles through resistance and controlled movement are far more effective at preserving strength, balance, and mobility than aerobic activity alone. So when surgeons and geriatric specialists recommend specific exercises over walking, it's based on decades of clinical data, not guesswork. This matters because once strength and balance fade, independence follows. And the exercise you're about to see directly targets the systems walking barely touches. Now pause for a moment. Think about your body. Do you ever grab the armrest before standing? Do stairs feel steeper than they used to? Have you noticed a slight wobble when you turn too quickly? If so, this isn't weakness, and it isn't age catching up. According to the National Institute on Aging, these are early signs of strength and balance decline, not heart problems, not motivation issues. The real enemy isn't walking. It's the belief that walking alone is enough. And once you see what's actually missing, everything changes. Here's where things change. In the next few minutes, you're going to see 5 simple movements ranked from helpful to game-changing. Each one is backed by medical research and commonly recommended by surgeons and aging specialists, not influencers. And the final one, it activates the exact systems walking barely touches. No gym, no equipment, no pressure. Just movements your body was designed to use, but rarely does after 60. Stay with me until the end, because each step builds on the last, and skipping ahead could mean missing the one movement that protects your independence the most. Let's start with the one almost everyone overlooks. Pause. It looks simple, almost too simple, and that's exactly why most people underestimate it. Seated heel raises. If you've ever noticed your legs swelling by afternoon, if standing for long periods feels exhausting, or if walking feels harder than it should, this is where the problem often begins. Deep inside your lower leg sits a powerful muscle called the soleus, pronounced soleus. According to vascular and aging research discussed by the National Institute on Aging, this muscle plays a key role in pushing blood back up toward the heart, especially when we're upright and moving slowly. That's why cardiologists sometimes call it the body's second heart. But here's the issue. After 60, the soleus becomes understimulated. Walking mostly uses momentum. It barely challenges this muscle through its full range. So blood pools, fatigue builds, balance weakens, and over time, even daily walking stops feeling restorative. This is why seated heel raises earn the 5 spot. They're not flashy, but they wake up a system that's been asleep for years. Here's how it works. When you lift your heels while seated, You force the soleus to contract repeatedly without joint stress. That contraction squeezes deep veins in the lower leg, improving circulation and endurance, something walking alone does poorly, according to aging physiology research summarized by the National Institutes of Health. Now let's make this practical. Sit tall in a chair, feet flat on the floor, hands resting comfortably. Slowly lift both heels as high as you can. Pause for 2 seconds at the top. Then lower with control. That pause matters. Research on muscle activation shows that time under tension is what stimulates dormant muscle fibers, not speed. Aim for 15 to 20 repetitions, rest briefly, then repeat for 2 to 3 sets. Do you feel a gentle burn? Good. That's blood flow returning where it's been missing. Now, a quick safety note. If you have severe balance issues, neuropathy, or vascular conditions, always stay seated and move slowly. This exercise is considered low risk and joint friendly, which is why it's commonly recommended in senior rehabilitation settings. So why is this only 5? Because while seated heel raises improve circulation and endurance, they don't yet train your body to stabilize itself against gravity. They prepare the system. They don't complete it. Think of this like priming an engine. You wouldn't floor the gas on a cold motor. This movement gets everything ready for what comes next. And in the next exercise, we shift from circulation to balance control, the system most responsible for preventing falls. Don't skip it, because what we're about to activate next works with this muscle, not instead of it. Now we move from circulation to control, because here's a hard truth most people learn too late. Falls don't happen because you're weak. They happen because your balance system reacts too slowly, and walking does very little to train that system. This is why heel-to-toe balance, also called tandem stance, takes the 4 spot. It looks simple, almost boring, but medically speaking, it's one of the most important movements for adults over 60. According to the National Institute on Aging, balance decline is one of the earliest predictors of falls, often appearing years before a serious accident ever happens. And here's the key. Balance isn't just about your feet. It's about communication. Your eyes, your inner ear, your joints, your brain, all working together in real time. When you stand heel to toe, you dramatically narrow your base of support. That forces your nervous system to wake up, adjust, and correct small shifts before they become dangerous. Walking doesn't do that. Walking lets momentum do the work. So how do you perform this safely? Stand next to a counter, wall, or sturdy chair. Place one foot directly in front of the other, heel touching toe. Hands hover near support, but don't grip unless needed. Now simply hold. Start with 20 seconds. Work up to 30-45 seconds. Then switch feet, that's it. But here's where people go wrong, they rush. Balance training is about stillness, not effort. Research summarized by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows that consistent balance exercises can significantly reduce fall risk in older adults, especially when practiced daily in short sessions. Now ask yourself, have you ever turned too quickly and felt that brief moment of panic? That's your balance system lagging behind. This exercise shortens that delay, and the benefits go beyond falls. Improved balance also means more confidence walking outdoors, easier stair navigation, faster reaction time when you stumble. Now, a quick safety note. If heel-to-toe feels too challenging at first, widen the stance slightly. Progress comes from consistency, not pushing through fear. This exercise pairs perfectly with the seated heel raises you just learned. One improves circulation, the other improves stability. Together, they create a stronger foundation, but we're still missing something critical. Balance without strength is fragile, and strength without balance is risky. That's why the next exercise, item 3, targets the exact movement most seniors struggle with daily, standing up. And once you fix that, everything else becomes easier. Now we arrive at the turning point. This is the movement that quietly decides whether you stay independent or slowly begin relying on help. It's called the sit-to-stand, standing up from a chair, something you've done thousands of times. and something many adults over 60 suddenly realize has become harder than it should be. Here's why this matters so much. According to the National Institute on Aging, difficulty rising from a chair is one of the strongest predictors of future mobility loss, falls, and loss of independence. Not walking speed, not endurance, this. And walking doesn't train it. Walking moves you forward. Sit to stand moves you against gravity. That difference is everything. When you rise from a chair, your body must coordinate your quadriceps, glutes, hips, and core in one powerful, controlled action. This type of coordinated strength is known as functional strength, and it declines rapidly after 60 if it's not trained. Research cited by the American College of Sports Medicine shows that resistance-based movements like sit-to-stand improve lower body strength and balance far more effectively than aerobic activity alone in older adults. In simple terms, if you can stand up easily, you can usually walk, climb stairs, and catch yourself if you stumble. If you can't, those abilities fade quickly. So let's make this practical. Sit toward the front of a sturdy chair. Feet flat, hip-width apart, chest tall. Lean forward slightly, nose over toes. Now press through your heels and stand up. Slowly, pause at the top for 1 second. Then lower yourself back down with control. No dropping, no plopping. That lowering phase is just as important. Studies on muscle aging show that controlled lowering, called eccentric loading, pronounced eccentric, is especially effective at rebuilding strength in older adults. Start with 8 to 10 repetitions. Rest. Then repeat for 2 to 3 sets. If this feels difficult, that's not a failure, it's feedback. Use the armrests lightly if needed, or raise the seat height with a cushion. Progress comes from consistency, not forcing it. Now ask yourself this. Have you ever avoided low chairs? Or chosen seats with armrests without thinking about it? That's your body adapting to strength loss. This exercise reverses that process. Within 4 to 6 weeks, many seniors report easier standing, steadier balance, and more confidence moving through daily life. Outcomes commonly noted in rehabilitation and aging exercise research summarized by the National Institutes of Health. And here's why this is the middle powerhouse. Everything you've done so far prepares you for this. Everything coming next depends on it. Circulation from item 5. Balance from item 4. Now you're adding real strength, but we're not done. Because most falls don't happen on 2 feet. They happen when weight shifts to 1. And that's exactly what item 2 is about. Now we get to the exercise that exposes what walking hides. Most people believe falls happen because both legs are weak. That's rarely true. Falls usually happen because one side fails. One leg hesitates. One hip collapses. One moment of imbalance and the body can't recover. This is why single leg support earns the 2 position. According to research summarized by the National Institute on Aging, the ability to stand on one leg is a strong indicator of future fall risk and mobility decline in older adults. In fact, large population studies published in major medical journals report that adults over 60 who struggle to hold a single-leg stance for even 10 seconds face a significantly higher risk of falls and injury in the coming years. Walking doesn't reveal this problem. When you walk, weight constantly shifts. Momentum hides weakness, but single-leg support removes momentum. It forces your body to stabilize itself honestly. Here's what's happening inside your body. When you stand on one leg, deep stabilizing muscles in your hips, especially the gluteus medius, pronounced gluteus medius, must fire continuously to keep your pelvis level. These muscles are critical for balance, posture, and preventing sideways falls. Aging research referenced by the National Institutes of Health shows these stabilizers weaken faster than larger muscles if they're not directly trained. Now let's make this safe and practical. Stand next to a counter or chair. Lightly place one hand on the surface. Lift one foot just a few inches off the ground. That's it. Hold for 15 to 20 seconds. Switch sides. Repeat 2 to 3 times per leg. As this becomes easier, reduce hand support. Then increase hold time toward 30-45 seconds. This isn't about pushing through strain. It's about teaching your nervous system to respond faster and more efficiently. Ask yourself this. Have you ever stepped off a curb or turned quickly and felt that brief moment where your body lagged behind your intention? That delay is what causes falls. Balance research discussed in clinical aging literature shows that improving single-leg stability significantly enhances reaction time and postural control, two factors walking barely trains. This exercise also amplifies everything you've done so far. The circulation from item 5 keeps muscles nourished. The balance awareness from item 4 sharpens control. The strength from item 3 gives you force. Single leg support combines all three. That's why it's almost one. But it's still missing one final element: endurance under control, strength that lasts, balance that holds. And that brings us to the most powerful exercise of all, the one surgeons repeatedly recommend because it safely trains strength, balance, and control together, even for adults well into their 70s and 80s. And now, the one that changes everything. This is the exercise surgeons, geriatric specialists, and rehabilitation doctors consistently recommend when the goal is real independence after 60. Not walking, not jogging, not stretching alone, chair-based resistance training. It may not look dramatic, but medically speaking, it is the most complete exercise an older adult can do safely. Here's why this ranks number 1. According to the American College of Sports Medicine, resistance training is the single most effective way to slow and partially reverse age-related muscle loss, known as sarcopenia after age 60. Adults can lose up to 3–5% of muscle mass per decade, even if they stay active. Walking does not stop this. Chair-based resistance training does, and it does more than build strength. It trains balance, coordination, reaction speed, all at once. That's the key difference. When you perform controlled resistance movements while seated, your body must stabilize joints, activate deep core muscles, and generate force without relying on momentum. This combination is exactly what protects you when you trip, turn suddenly, or need to catch yourself. This is why the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention specifically recommend muscle strengthening activities at least 2 days per week for adults over 65. In addition to walking. Now let's break this down into something simple and doable. Sit tall in a sturdy chair, feet planted firmly on the floor. Start with these core movements. Seated leg extensions, straighten one leg, pause 2 seconds. Lower slowly seated rows with a resistance band or lightweight seated chest presses using bands or light dumbbells, controlled sit to stand, which you already learned each movement should be slow and controlled. Why? Because aging research summarized by the National Institute on Aging shows that time under tension, holding muscles active for a few seconds, is what stimulates strength gains and improves nerve-muscle communication in older adults. Speed is not your friend here. Control is. Aim for 8 to 12 repetitions per movement, complete 2 to 3 sets, rest when needed. The entire routine can be done in 20 to 25 minutes. No gym, no floor work, no joint impact. Now ask yourself this: which matters more at this stage of life, walking farther or standing stronger? This is why this exercise multiplies the effect of everything else. The circulation from item 5 feeds the muscles. The balance from item 4 keeps you stable. The strength from item 3 gives you power. The single leg control from item 2 sharpens reactions. Chair-based resistance training connects them all. Clinical outcomes reported across rehabilitation and aging exercise studies consistently show improvements in balance, walking confidence, stair climbing, and daily task performance within 6 to 8 weeks when resistance training is performed consistently. That's not hype, that's physiology. And perhaps most importantly, this exercise sends a message to your body. You are still capable, you are still strong, you are still in control. That's why this one exercise doesn't just beat walking. It protects your independence, Let's bring this all together. Walking is not the enemy. It helps your heart. It supports your mood. But walking alone does not protect what matters most after 60. Your strength, your balance, your independence. That's why surgeons, aging researchers, and public health institutions all agree on one core message. Adults over 65 must train strength and balance, not just endurance. This guidance is consistently reinforced by organizations like the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the National Institute on Aging. Today, you saw why. You woke up circulation with the soleus. You sharpened balance control. You rebuilt functional strength. You corrected hidden side-to-side weakness. And finally, you tied everything together with chair-based resistance training, the most complete joint-safe option available. None of this requires a gym. None of it requires pain. And none of it requires hours a day, just consistency. So here's your starting point. Begin with 10 minutes a day, one chair, one stable surface, one commitment to your future self. Ask yourself this: what's harder to regain later, strength or confidence? If this video helped you see exercise differently, let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? And which movement will you start with today? If you want more evidence-based guidance like this, explained clearly, safely, and without hype, subscribe to the channel. Our next video shows how to fall-proof your home using the same medical principles you learned today. Remember this: aging does not steal independence. Inactivity does. And now you know exactly what to do about it.